It was snowing gently that Christmas night, the kind of snow that made the world feel quieter, softer, yet for Sergeant Emily Walker, it only deepened the silence inside her. She stood at the edge of the town square, dressed in her military fatigues, hands deep in her coat pockets. The holiday light shimmered across the empty benches, carolers had gone home, and laughter drifted faintly from houses she didn't belong to. She had nowhere to go. A bus ticket sat unused in her pocket, meant for a trip to see a family that didn't quite wait for her anymore. Deployments had stretched too long. Calls had grown shorter. She told herself it was easier this way, not to expect anything. But standing there, watching other people's windows glow warm with dinners and love, her heart ached. And that's when she heard a soft voice behind her. "Hey," the man said, his voice warm, kind. "You okay out here?" Emily turned around to see a tall man holding a little girl's mittened hand. He had kind eyes, the kind that had seen pain but chose compassion anyway. His coat was worn, boots slightly muddy. A single dad, if she had to guess. Before she could respond, he gently added, "Want to have dinner with us? My daughter and I made way too much." Emily blinked. She almost declined on instinct. But the sincerity in his voice wrapped around her like a blanket she hadn't known she needed. I don't want to intrude," she murmured. "You wouldn't be," he said softly. "Nobody should be alone on Christmas. I'm Christian, by the way. This little tornado is my daughter, Grace." Grace gave a shy wave, then smiled wide. "Do you like cookies? Daddy burns them, but I hide some." That made Emily chuckle. "I love cookies," she said. Christian lived in a modest two-bedroom house near the edge of town. It smelled of pine and cinnamon, though the tree leaned a little to the left and the lights blinked in uneven rhythms. The living room was scattered with picture books, a few toy trucks, and a fire that crackled softly. It didn't look perfect, but it felt real. Dinner was humble. Roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, carrots, and stuffing slightly overcooked. But to Emily, it tasted like comfort. Like home. They laughed. Talked. Grace asked a million questions, and Emily, for the first time in weeks, answered everyone with a smile. Christian never pried, never asked about what she'd seen or done. He only listened when she offered stories. Stories of a soldier's loneliness. Of watching friends return home broken or not at all. Christian shared his own loss. His wife, Marissa, had passed 3 years ago in a car accident just 2 days before Christmas. He had been left with a 1-year-old and a grief that threatened to swallow him whole. "But Grace saved me," he said, looking at his daughter who was now half asleep on Emily's lap. "So now, we try to save others. Even if it's just with a plate of mashed potatoes." As the night deepened, Emily helped Christian put Grace to bed. The little girl clung to Emily's finger before letting go, whispering, "You smell like safety." That broke something in Emily. Her eyes welled up. Later, Christian handed her a blanket as they sat on the couch. The snow outside hadn't stopped, but inside, it felt like time had. She turned to him and asked, "Why did you stop for me?" Christian looked at her gently. "Because I saw someone who reminded me of me. Of what it feels like to keep going when you don't know why anymore. I've been there. Sometimes all it takes is one invitation." She nodded slowly. Her voice broke. "Thank you." Challenges faced. Emily had faced physical war zones, but the emotional battlefield of loneliness had been her hardest. Coming home with no one to come home to, watching the world celebrate what she had missed, it weighed heavily on her soul. Her military service had become a silent wall that separated her from everyday people. Christian, meanwhile, struggled with raising Grace alone while carrying the quiet burden of a love lost too soon. He faced each day as both father and mother, trying to keep their little world together with duct tape and love. But that night, both their wounds found a moment of healing. Emily didn't take the bus the next morning. She stayed in town. She helped Christian shovel snow, walked Grace to preschool, and eventually found work at the local vet clinic. She had a way with animals. Weeks turned into months, and that Christmas night became the quiet turning point neither of them had expected. 1 year later, in that same home, the tree was a little straighter. The cookies were still slightly burnt. But there were 3 stockings above the fireplace this time. And a new framed photo on the wall, Emily in her dress blues, holding Grace, Christian standing beside them, smiling, whole.